Hello and welcome to another episode of the Zion Experience. We call it the TZE, and we've got a very special guest today. One of the things we try to do is meet people out in the industry or have friends, and this person happens to be both. Miss Patrice Adams is on with us today, and I'm going to let Jordan introduce her in a minute, but we're glad to have you. If this is your first time on the episode, welcome. If you're a returning guest, and you listen to our nonsense and to our technology talks and to all that we do here at Zion, we appreciate you. So if it is your first time, just so you know, we do there's a video version that's out on YouTube, and then we're on all the other main podcast channels. So you can find us. I'm trying to do this because as we start, and I'll probably forget to do it next time, but we are out on Spotify. We're out on Amazon, and we're out on Apple Podcasts, and you can find us there. And be sure to subscribe. And we always post about this. We try to drop an episode every 2 weeks, and we meet people in the industry. We just sometimes have fun talking, Jordan and myself back and forth, and others from Zion, and then we meet unique people in our industry. So welcome to the Zion Experience. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Jordan.
All right. Yeah. Well, excited to have Patrice on today. Patrice, myself, and Jimmy have spent a lot of years working together in past lives and have certainly developed a friendship out of that. But let me start with a little bit about Patrice. So Patrice is the founder and owner of the Designery Creative Studio, which is a marketing agency that focuses on helping companies craft their brand and generate awareness around their unique positioning in their industry. With an unwavering focus on achieving goals, Patrice possesses a wealth of experience in crafting and executing strategic marketing campaigns that attract new customers, foster strong client relationships, and elevate partner alliances for the companies she works with. So that's a little bit about Patrice. Patrice, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. How are you all?
We're doing good. Where are we? Are we at home today with the background there, or what do we got going on?
Yeah, we are at home on the third floor, hiding away from the dogs.
Well, we were just talking about the dogs and Patrice's now love of the dog animals. It wasn't that way when we first met, but I think I had something to do with that. So, Patrice, why don't you tell the audience here what the recent addition is to the family?
Yes, so we have two huskies, and we recently just added a third. So we have two girls and one boy.
So, I'm curious, when you got the second husky, the reason behind it was, well, I don't want, what's your first husky's name?
Kona.
What is it?
Kona.
Hona. You said, I don't want Hona to be by herself. So she needs someone to play with and have. So you got a second one. So then what was the logic and reasoning on the third one?
I've always wanted the third one. That was always the plan.
I see. Gotcha. Well, anyways, glad to have you on today. We don't get to see each other as often as we used to. When Patrice and I first started working together, we sat probably, 8 feet apart from each other, and it was just turn around and there would be Patrice. So I got to know her really well, and just really excited and proud of what you've been able to do of opening up your own company, focusing on marketing, and I think Jimmy and I wanted to have you on today to talk about what you've been up to, what you're doing, how things are going, and just kind of catch up.
Yeah.
What we'll start with, we got some questions we'll ask you. We'll keep it conversational in nature, but just Patrice, what inspired you to start your own marketing company?
It's going to sound crazy, but I've always, since college, wanted to start my own company. I didn't know what I wanted it to be yet. So in college, my undergrad, I studied animation and video editing. So originally I thought, okay, everyone's dream who's an animation student, I'm going to work for Pixar. I'm going to work for Disney. Learn the ropes. Go out there, learn the ropes first, and then eventually, my dream was to just start my own animation studio. Obviously, life happened, things changed. Wasn't able to do that. Wasn't able to work for Pixar or Disney, and then so I ended up going to grad school and studying media design, which focused on branding, which I love branding because it encompasses the entire company and what you do and your voice, your messaging, your audience, how you make them feel. So I was very intrigued by that. So I think again, the goal was to always own my own something. I just didn't know what that was. And now it's very clear. Obviously, I'm doing it, my own marketing in the studio. So,
Gotcha. Awesome.
yeah.
A question out of that, you speak to, because we've talked about this in the past, you have marketing
Hmm.
strategies and you have branding strategies, right?
Hmm.
And the brand is really important to the success of the organization, especially for someone like us that's starting off,
Hmm.
right? Zion
Hmm.
Solutions Group. And
Hmm.
Jim's done a really good job of getting our message out there. And what we talk
Hmm.
about building the brand, right?
Hmm.
So when you hear people talking through marketing and you talk about building the brand, do you view those things as two different things? Do you view them as one and the same? Is there fundamental differences? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, to me, they're two different things. So branding, as you said, branding is you're bringing your brand out there. You're bringing awareness to your brand. So what does your brand stand for? What are its values? What's your messaging? What makes you different than other companies out there who are in your industry? So that's, to me, that's different than marketing. So there's brand marketing, then there's product marketing. So it is as it sounds. So there's brand marketing, which is you're marketing your brand. You're trying to get people to know you, to understand who Zion is. And then you have your product marketing, so, or your solution. So whatever you offer, whatever your services are, your product, your services, whatever that is, that's what you're marketing. And that too has its own, I guess you would call it, subcategories underneath that. So what makes your product or your service so different than your direct competitor? Why should your customer choose you over your competitor? So, I mean, there's different nuances to both, but I think of them as two totally different things. I know a lot of people mesh them together a lot. But yeah, no, I think of them as two different things.
Yeah, I didn't know. I thought I was giving Jimmy a chance to jump in because I had another question, but I didn't want to hog the airtime to start off here. But I know
It's
that,
all
Jimmy,
good.
you're a little quiet over there. That's unusual.
well,
Listen, it's
it's because
very
go ahead.
unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was letting you go with it because I'm interested. I think a lot of people struggle with, well, what's marketing and what's branding, and I agree
Mhm.
with you. I think there's two totally different things, and
Mhm.
I think marketing there's been a transformation in what's true marketing. Perhaps
Mhm.
branding was a subsection of marketing in the past, but I think you can almost, in today's world, especially with the tools available to all of us, the
Mhm.
ability to really brand yourself. And there's multi layers
Mhm.
of branding. There's the personal brand, and then there's
Mhm.
the company brand, and then there's
Mhm.
internal to the company what brands you might
Mhm.
have. And so I think it's
Mhm.
just a really neat conversation. I was trying to soak in and listen. I had been
Yeah.
moonlighting as a marketing person for hell. I pull the short sticks out of everything, Patrice, and somehow you'll appreciate this. Guess how this started. So originally it was going to be Drew and I
Okay.
think Chuck, and I couldn't help myself but get involved in it as well. Jordan's pretty good at
Of
staying
course.
out of what he didn't need to be in the middle of, or if he didn't get
Yeah.
selected for. The rest of us are not so good. So Drew figured out pretty quick that it was like, yeah, no, not for me. He's good at it. He is really good at strategic branding, looking forward. But as you can imagine,
Yeah.
he needed to do other things.
Yeah.
And then Chuck and I both kind of took this on, and we've been tag teaming it for a while. And we've got, I know you've met some of them, but we got a marketing team, and
Yeah. Mhm.
we've had a lot of success. It's been a lot of fun, and I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
I've learned I'm not creative at colors. I have no idea what font I can tell you what fonts I like to look at, but no idea
Yeah.
what goes together. And
Patrice,
Yeah.
you
first
need to
thing we
see
did was
the
design brand or the brand guidelines. And
yeah.
yeah,
No,
wasn't my specialty in life.
well, he is good. He is good at what he
Yeah.
does. Takes him some time to get there, and you should see one day, maybe after this or a couple weeks from now, we'll show you the iterations and archives of the Zion logo and how many colors and different looks and finalists and revisions and comments back. And I bet you can guess. The founders of Zion is Jordan, Jimmy, Drew, and Chuck. So
Yeah.
as you know all
Uh-huh.
four. there's
Yeah.
one in there that's really big at ideas, not so
Yep.
much execution, but and you
Mhm.
can probably guess who that is. And so we'd
Yep.
get a logo back, we'd have
Quit
some
talking
thoughts,
about
we'd have
Drew.
some ideas.
Quit
Huh?
talking about Drew. I said, quit talking about Drew.
Sorry, Drew. Right.
Oh my
But Jimmy's
God.
done a really nice job. I mean, it was pretty cool at Premat this year. We were at that point, we were only 12 months into it, right? And
Mhm.
that was
Yep.
March
Yep.
of this year. And it felt like walking around, the people not everybody I can say knew exactly what we did. That wasn't our point,
Mhm.
right? People
Mhm.
they knew the Zion logo, they knew the name, and that prompted them to ask, man, I've seen you guys everywhere. Tell me more about you. And I think
Mhm.
that's the intent of branding,
Mhm.
right? Is you want to have a recognizable name that people then, reach out and ask about.
Mhm. Yeah, and I wanted to just go back a little bit to what Jimmy said about different types of branding. So, yeah, you have your personal branding, and then you have your corporate branding, branding your company. And then you have, and it's probably not the right term, but it's kind of like employee branding. So almost like you want to, if you're trying to attract a certain type of employee and you want it to be a great place to work, you want to show that we have a good culture, company culture, we care about our employees. That's branding. And so, so you're trying to attract, just new recruits. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Branding, it's always been there, but I think lately people are really starting to put a label and a name to it. And people are really starting to look at it and recognize these things are important. So let's actually invest time and money. It takes money to do those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think we can
Yeah.
pivot, and I could speak about branding we've got a philosophy. I don't know if it's right or wrong. I think one of the things I would say, I was going to talk about this with you later, and we may come back to it, Patrice,
Mhm.
but I think the thing about branding and or marketing in a professional or personal way is like that, what the approach that we've tried to take. And I'm interested to hear this because it's going to lead into the next question is,
Okay.
it's easy to be who you are and what you are. And I think the stronger you are aligned and you can match your brand,
Mhm.
either corporate, as you said, or your personal side to what you truly are and who you really are and how you live and the values you have and the way you want to have the culture at your company, it's
Mhm.
easier. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of people get stuck in that because they don't want to show them their true selves. They're
Yeah.
afraid of that real voice. They're afraid of how the market and just society in general, right? There's a lot of people that
Yeah.
get offended easily. There's a lot of people that make judgment without facts. There's a lot of people that's just like we in a professional setting, there's a lot of people that come from a different generation where you didn't just openly speak and have your opinion and just, are judgy for lack of a better
Mhm.
word. So
Mhm.
one of the things I think we found pretty easy is we tell people all the time, whether it's right or wrong, we're not scared to fail. We're not scared to put something out that's not, that could be improved upon instead of, it's not perfection for us. It's progress.
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
but we've really focused hard on associating our values, who we are as people, to what the company we want to be and ultimately how we do
Mhm.
business. And so
Yeah.
we don't have to have a piece of paper that tells us that. We can get on a call like this and tell you exactly what we're made of. And
Yeah.
hopefully that's pulled through in the brand. So your brand to
Yeah.
me is your voice. And the
Mhm.
more authentic and closer you are to your real voice, the
Mhm.
better that brand stands out to me.
Yeah.
So a
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
said
You're
there. But
absolutely right.
let me go into the second question because this is why
Mhm.
Jacob cuts me off. See, Jordan got me
Um,
started. What when you're approaching, like you've got your business, and congratulations, by the way. I know
Thank
you've
you.
been kind of doing this in parallel as your
Mhm.
professional career was going on, and you've got a
Mhm.
lot of talents that I came to appreciate working with you, and just we wish you well in that, certainly. But congratulations. It's not easy to start your own business, and I know you've had
Yeah.
some success, and you shared that. We want to brag on you a little bit at the end, or let you brag on yourself about your business. But how do you approach? So you're going in, you're trying to get a new
Mhm.
client. You're in multiple different industries. We're very specific to supply
Mhm.
chain and material handling, and it's kind of
Mhm.
it. I wouldn't say it's an easier industry, but it's a real
Mhm.
different industry to really do
It
true
is.
marketing and branding because it's all
Yeah.
relationship, and it's a strong relationship synergy than it is maybe the brand and in the marketing side. But you're going in, you got a new customer, you got to
Mm-hmm.
sell a strategy, or you're trying to pick one. How do you go about knowing that you got
Mm-hmm.
diversity? How do you
Mm-hmm.
go about picking out a client's specific needs or your target audience, and just what's your approach to that?
Yeah. So the first thing I do is I have a conversation, just like we're having with the client, and I ask them, what is your goal? What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? And most of the time, they start out with one thing, and then by the end of the conversation, it's something completely different because they don't understand, or not all of them, but most of them don't understand what it takes to reach that goal. So I ask them, what is your goal? Is it to increase your sales? Is it to increase brand awareness? Like, what is it? And then after that, we go through, your target audience. What's your ideal customer? Do you know where they live? Just to understand if they know their customer. Do you know where do they mostly live on LinkedIn? Do they mostly live in trade shows? Where do they live? And then obviously, like, you go through, what's so special about you? What's so special about your company? What's so special about your brand? What's so special about your product? So that's where the customer basically educates me on them. And then after that, then I'll just like throw out some different ideas to them. And then I ask them, what is your budget? A lot of people don't, the most common answer I get is, well, how much would you charge for something like this? Well, it depends on what you want. So it's so different. So what I typically do is I just walk away from the conversation, think about what we talked about, and I put together a proposal for them, and then we go from there. Like you said, we don't always get it right the first time. So I'll come to them with a proposal. We'll talk about it. They're like, "Wow, I didn't know that marketing could be so expensive." Like, yeah, you're investing in your brand. It's an investment. So although with marketing and branding, it's not a direct profit, but it still brings profit, just in a roundabout way, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's essentially how I approach it. But I really encourage customers to really understand and think about what you really want. And your budget is important. Think about your budget realistically. How much do you want to spend on this? And it can be in phases. It doesn't have to be one large chunk. It can be in phases. And then, because what you do is you work your plan, like we've all said, since working together, you work your plan, you figure out what works, what doesn't work, and then you adjust, and then you move on from there. Same with marketing, same thing. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I like how you bring up, because it's a lot of times companies look at direct correlated cost, and you got a cause and effect, and you put a cost number down, and you say, okay, well, tie that back to, how do I tie marketing dollars back to closed sales or driving revenue? And it's not an easy, I don't think you can do it. There's indirect, you can get metric based. There's certainly metrics that help you understand, is your brand growing? Is it strong? There's surveys, but a lot of it's touchy. You can't do a direct correlation on it. And I think most companies, we lost Jordan. Most companies try to tend, the good ones put 3 to 5% of their budget go to marketing. And what'd you do there, Jordan?
Mic issues.
He's having a mic issue. Okay.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
3 to 5% of your budget goes towards marketing. And we've certainly put a substantial portion of it's one of our biggest line items, because of what we needed to do in terms of associating the four of us and now our team to the new logo, the new brand, the new Zion Solutions Group name. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Sounds like you got yourself a process. Have we designed the process and put it down into a 6-step method, or done anything like that with it?
Yeah, so I mean, the process is pretty much the same for each, different client, each customer.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say too, would bring up is, going back to the target audience and defining your target audience. A lot of people too, they tend to go the generic route of their target audience. Like, it's male, between these ages, they typically like this or that. And I saw this on LinkedIn, and it's so funny. And I'll email it to you so maybe you guys can pop it up while editing. Um, so a company was trying to define their target audience, and they described. And so there's a picture of King Charles III on one side, and a picture of Ozzy Osbourne on the other. And if you just go by the umbrella, just generic term, they're both male. They both were born in 1948. They both were raised in the UK. They both were married twice, and they both are wealthy. Those are two completely personalities, right? But if you just go by just those bullet points that I listed, you're going to be throwing, spaghetti at a wall, just seeing what sticks, essentially. So you really have to look at the behavioral data too around your target audience. Look at their goals, their attitudes, their needs. So you can't just go off of those generic things, but really defining your target audience and understanding what their pain points are will really drive your marketing strategy and what you do to reach them. So I'll send that to you, but I thought it's pretty funny, but it's pretty spot on.
Yeah. No, I think that's been, we've had, our team has asked us, like, who are you profiling here? And I think LinkedIn's unique, because I'm convinced that LinkedIn, I know we have an audience that some of our target audience is potential employees. I know there's some customers out there. I don't think a lot of people are going to make buying decisions for the systems integration world off of LinkedIn. They're not going to go open it and say, well, let me go see which companies posted on LinkedIn today, and I'm going to buy from them. But I think relationships connect there. And then I believe there's a lot of thought leadership sharing, in terms of our company looks at what other companies doing and vice versa. And you see a lot of companies are copycatting and they're learning from others. And so it's unique, LinkedIn specifically. We've chosen, you probably are well more versed than we are, but we've chosen, there's Facebook, there's X now instead of Twitter, I guess, is Elon's doing whatever Elon's doing, but X and Instagram, and then there's TikTok, and there's all these different really great social media outlets. But what we've stuck with is LinkedIn. So I'm sure you know your way around all of them. Do you have a preference? This is kind of off script, but that's what we do.
Yeah, that's fine.
You have a preference, like what's your favorite social media, and what do you like the best?
Yeah. So I'll say this, for my company, I tend to lean heavily on LinkedIn, because although I am targeting customers in various industries, but my main target audience is in the material handling world, because I've noticed a gap there. So there are marketing agencies that do specialize in the material handling world, but it's very few. And what I've noticed while working for a corporate company in this industry is that if you are looking for outside help and you hire a marketing agency, they have no idea about our world. They have no idea. So instead of you hiring a helping hand and thinking like, okay, great, I can give you this and I can move about my day and work on what I need to work on, that's not the case, because you're educating them and then for the most part, again, they don't get it right the first time. So they come back to you with something. You're like, that's not right. So then you have to go back. So I've noticed a need there. So although, I am currently working with companies who are software startups and who are event planning production companies, and I am working with some companies in this world, but so I tend to lean more on LinkedIn because that's where those companies are, and that's where those decision makers are. But for my personal, I do everything, minus TikTok. I'm not really on TikTok a lot. I've noticed, my generation, we're not on TikTok as much as the younger generation is. And I say younger as if like I'm not young. I'm young, but
Are you still?
Instagram, Facebook? Are you Instagram, Facebook, or?
yeah, I'm Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. That's where I am. And so my company, obviously, I took up the handle on all of those minus TikTok just because I don't want somebody else claiming to be the Designery Creative Studio on those handles. But yeah, I mainly for my company, I live on LinkedIn. And it's funny because I'm working with another client. He's in the real estate world, and his company, he's kind of branching out, and he wants his company to be everything for his clients. So his clients are landlords. And so instead of a landlord, going and hiring a third party HVAC company, he wants that landlord to go to him. And so the first thing he hired me for was social media, just consulting, because he wants him and his team to do it on his own. So I partnered with, other creatives out there. I've been to a ton of networking events, partnered with other creatives who really specialize in those things. And now we're working together with this client on social media. And it's funny because he just had no idea. Like he just thought, oh, you just post randomly every now and then, it's fine. And once we're in week 2 of a 5-week program with him, and he has tons of questions. He had no idea what it. So social media, it's a lot, but it can be very powerful too. And again, going back, it depends on where your audience live, what channels they're on, and that's where your company should live the most.
So Patrice, with your company and with the engagements that you're doing, are you seeing that you're staying on maybe longer than, I don't want to phrase this, your typical engagement length? Are you seeing that people are keeping you on for longer than maybe they originally anticipated, just because it isn't as easy as people think that it is? To your point, to go out there and just blast things on social media and do other things. Does your company do more of like hey, this is a 3-month engagement where we evaluate? How does it work with the Designery Creative Studio?
Just in general with it, just any project. Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, depends on what they're looking for. So I gave you an example for that client. Another example would be, I had a client who came to me and he said, hey, I have this software startup and my goal is just to get in front of my target audience and just start to sell my products. I'm like, okay, do you have a website? Yeah, I have a website. Checked it out. There's barely anything on it. Do you have brochures? No. Are you on social media? No. Okay, so we have some work to do. So before I can start helping you market your product, we have to build this foundation. So I laid out a 3-month timeline for him. And each month is obviously it's jam-packed. So month 1 is basically building his brand, like the foundational things. Month 2 is building, his marketing material, templates, anything. So that way he can be self-sustainable as well if I'm not in the picture anymore. And then month 3 is actually marketing. So it really depends on what that company or what that need is for that company. So again, in the beginning of this conversation, I said some people think they know what they want, but in the end, they have no idea. So this guy, for example, thought, oh, I just need a few marketing digital campaigns and then I'm good to go. No, actually, you need way more than that. So, it definitely varies.
Well, I think it's a good segue, and it's kind of the next question that I had. When people ask us, how do you go about selecting the right integrator, which is what we are, right? We're a systems integrator. What we tell people is that we want an ideal customer for us, and things that you should consider in making your decision is find somebody who certainly understands your industry, certainly understands your product, certainly understands your pain points and can recommend some potential solutions. But really who we want to work with are people that are open to creative feedback, creative solutions, and kind of giving us the reins in terms of, we want to understand what you have, but let us design what you need, right, for the future. So in a marketing world, what advice do you have for businesses when they're looking to go out and find that right marketing agency or marketing person? What advice can you give people to help guide that decision?
Yeah. So I'm going to sound like a broken record, but the common theme here is clearly define your needs and your goals. Like, what do you need, first of all? Excuse me. So, what do you need? And then once you define that or figure that out, then you look at that's when you start researching different marketing agencies, because some marketing agencies only specialize in communication, social media. Some only specialize in branding, or some do a combination of all things, which I do. So you have to look and see, what you need, what companies are out there that can potentially give you what you need. And then you obviously, just like you're shopping on Amazon, you look at reviews. Do they have customer testimonials? Do they have case studies? Are they sharing, like if you need a new a refresh for your brand, your logo, your website, do they have
This was a whole thing. There's a whole story about that shoe right there in front of you, Patrice. A whole
that caught
story.
me off guard.
Yeah, right. You just slammed it up there, right in the midst of your flow. Yeah, right.
Exactly. Well, you know what? I'm not going to let him stop my flow. So
Right.
you, you look at if they show what they do well. So if they claim that they're great at rebranding, brand development, do they have case studies? Do they have examples of their work? And then you guys were talking about your culture. See if it's a cultural fit. Meet with that company, meet with that person. They may have the skill set, but is their behavior, their attitude, is it really what you want to be stuck with for the next 2 to 3 months, however long your engagement is? Probably not. And they probably won't understand your culture either. So make sure it's a cultural fit. So in a nutshell, that's my advice to companies looking for a marketing agency to supplement their current marketing department, or just be their marketing department altogether.
So find their needs, right? Identify their needs. Do
Yeah.
some research, right? You've got specialized and you've got kind of all in one approaches, right?
Yeah.
Understand the culture, look for a cultural fit, and then references and relationships, right? And that kind of sums up, the four. There's 4 key points of going out and finding the right agency.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, Jimmy, go ahead. You got your shoe out. What were we doing here?
I'm listening and I'm like, that's awesome. And it made me think of, so what do you think about these, Patrice? We've been told to wrap up in like 5 to 7 minutes too. Jacob's moving me along. So
I get the color. Right.
I see the Zion green.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Jordan can tell the story if he wants. But.
Well, no, it was just, Patrice, you've known Jim long enough. And when he gets something on his mind, he doesn't do anything. He doesn't just kind of dip his toes in the water. He goes in, takes a bath, right? So if you look at this room, if we just start there at that podcast room, it started with that one picture up there of the 4 of us. And then for the next several episodes, we just kept getting more and more and more stuff. And then I'm sitting there one night at like 10 o'clock. And he's sending me links. And I'm like, what are you doing? We were at ProMat, and there was a group, Covariant. A little shout out to them.
Yeah.
They had all the same colored red shoes to match their brand. Jimmy got pretty excited about that. So when I started getting links to it, he started saying, see what Summer thinks about that. And lo and behold, I've never seen Jimmy wear a pair of tennis shoes once in my life.
Neither.
Wear a pair of tennis shoes. So when he sends me these Nike, Air Jordans that he's sending to me at like 10 o'clock at night, I'm like, what are you going to do with those? And that's as far as they've gotten, right there in the store. That's it.
3 pairs though. I bought 3 pairs. Yep.
Right. Did you really?
I do. Yeah, I haven't worn a single pair yet.
Chuck
bought me a pair too. I've got 4 pairs of Air Jordans, and I may have worn Chuck once to church, and everybody at church made such a big to-do about it that I haven't worn them back.
Never again.
Yeah, that was I had my jeans. I had a what do we call it? The Untuck It shirt, and I rocked my purple Jordans. And I think they were Jordan 8 or 9s. They were when I was in 5th grade when they came out, whatever that was. About the time he did Space Jam and the Barcelona Olympics, that version of them. They're pretty sweet. They're probably one of my favorite Jordans, but outside of the original, the ones are probably my favorite. But
Oh my goodness.
It's cool how
There you
you
go.
can blend everything into your brand. And I think you've done a nice
Yeah.
job of sharing. Like, I think at the end of the day, for a company like yours to work with other companies, it's about getting to know. It's a discovery process. And
Hmm. Yeah.
you're right. I believe there's a void in the material handling industry. And it's
Hmm.
not because Zion or any ideas we've had. I think we've just approached it different we just kind of
Hmm.
have our own voice and we've got our
Hmm.
own unique colors and we focused a lot on brand and
Hmm.
we spent a lot of time on associating the people and the culture to the brand.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then we also want to focus a lot of time on the technology. At the end of the day, we're pretty innovative. We do some really
Hmm.
neat stuff with material handling, and we
Hmm.
want to show that. And
Hmm.
we're in that transition of being able. It takes a long time to get some projects, as you know.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of, it doesn't take long to get them. It is a long sales cycle, but once you've
Yeah.
even closed business, you've got longer lead times
Hmm.
just in the industry. So we're super
Hmm.
excited right now to show some of what we've been building. And
Yeah.
but we were very heavy on culture at the
Yeah.
start. So
Yeah. Yeah.
congratulations on all you've done. If you had, we got two more questions, and for
Yeah.
Jacob, we'll really start yelling at us here shortly.
Yeah.
Might pop in at us, but um, really enjoyed listening to how do you find the right marketing agency partner. And we've got a really awesome partner. Shout out to Carlton Creative.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, you've met our team and met with them, and they've really helped us a lot. And then we've got
Yeah.
some bright people like Jacob was an intern that came and joined us as an intern, and he just jumped right in. And
Nice.
we had another intern this summer, and
Nice.
we've really enjoyed the marketing. But I think there's a void. So if you had one word that describes your approach to marketing that sets
Hmm.
Designery Creative Studio apart, what is that? What is that? It can be a statement too. Don't overthink it. But
Yeah. Yeah. I saw this question. I'm like, that's a tough one. And the word that immediately came to mind without thinking is direct. I think it's because I am direct. And so that's the approach. It's very direct. There's no tiptoeing around it. There's no, like, the examples I gave earlier. If you come in with thinking need one thing, but I'm going to tell you in a nice way, yeah, we can get there, but I think you need to do these things first in order to get there. So if that's the one where that immediately came to mind was direct.
gotcha.
And then we tell the truth. We're straightforward. We tell the truth. And all the proposals that I send, I always write a little letter to the customer. And in a nutshell, it pretty much says, thank you for trusting us, because it's a lot of trust that you put into that company or that person to help tell the story of your brand and market your brand. So thank you for trusting us. And then the second just highlight is, we're engaging or asking you to engage in a creative relationship with us. And in like all relationships, the best ones are based off of truth and telling the truth and just putting our best foot forward. So that's who we are in a nutshell.
That's
Awesome.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me we call this a little outro. It's just kind of a final question, and I've got one more statement, so we won't kill it yet, but or cut
Jacob's
off
gonna
the
get
recording
you.
yet.
Yes,
Yeah,
he
this is
is.
I steal this
Right.
from I steal this from Tim Ferriss. You've probably heard. Have you heard of Tim Ferriss, the 4 Hour Work Week? He's got a really popular
Oh yeah.
podcast. He
Hmm.
interviews.
Hmm.
He wrote a book called The Tribe of Mentors, and he asked like 10 questions. And one of these, so
Hmm.
this is one of those questions of
Hmm.
I think it's just kind of cool question to ask. So, what is the one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've ever made? And this investment can be money, it can be time, it can be energy.
That's so easy. It's investing my time and energy into building my company. It's the best feeling. As soon as I invested 100% of my time in building the Designery Creative Studio and really getting it out there, that's when a huge weight was lifted. I just felt super light. And I'm like, okay, I know I'm making the right decision because I have no regrets. I have, no second guesses. So yeah, that's super easy. Investing my time and energy into my company.
That's awesome. I think
Hmm.
we could say the same thing of
Hmm.
It's just there's something refreshing about knowing you control the direction, you
Hmm.
control the decisions, good or bad.
Hmm. Hmm.
And most people, probably the hardest thing is getting started. And once you've gotten
Hmm.
started, well, there's other hard things. I mean, there's a cost of
Yeah.
entry. There's all
Yeah.
the things in life with us and where you're at and what season of life you're in. But
Hmm.
I don't believe we've ever looked back. I think a door closes and a door opens, and you had a
Exactly.
similar situation. And
Yep.
we wish you all the luck in the world. And if somebody
Thank
wants to
you.
find you or
Hmm.
reach out to you or connect
Hmm.
with you, we'll put all
Hmm.
this in the show notes as well. I think Jacob
Okay.
will. But how do people find Patrice and the Designery Creative Studio?
Yeah, so LinkedIn. I mean, the Designer Creative Studio is on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. So it's Designer Creative Studio. Just search for that, you'll find us. Designerycreative.com. Find us there. And then for me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Patrice Adams. You can even email me at patrice@designerycreative.com. And I'm super responsive. So
That's awesome. Well, final thought,
yeah.
Jordan, Patrice, anybody?
It's just
I
good,
just have,
good catching up with you, Patrice. Enjoyed it
yeah.
talking with you and getting to know more about you and your company. And like I said at the start of this call, just excited to see you doing this. I agree with Jimmy. The hardest thing is when you say getting started, it's really just taking that leap of faith, right? And getting
Mhm.
things going. And once you do that, and if you're dedicated, you're going to find success, right? So
Right.
excited to be with you on here today. And we've talked over the years. When you say you've always thought about this, we've certainly talked about in the past of your desire to one
Mhm.
day do this. So really cool for us to
Mhm.
all be sitting here as founders, co-founders in our own businesses. So pretty neat story that we're in and happy to talk about it.
Mhm. Yeah. I just have one final question. I don't
No
think
more
I've ever
questions.
asked I don't think I've ever asked you guys this, but where did the color come from? The color green, that particular color green come from for
Yeah, I
Zion?
can. So there's, I don't remember the who publishes it. It's an overseas company. We
Hmm.
tried to get on it several times, and we're like, how do you get your logo put on that? If you remember back at our previous employer, and I
Hmm.
was looking, I had a printout of the top 100 logos, or not top 100, but it was logos involved with goods to person or some type of
Hmm.
technology. And I was
Yeah.
looking, and I noticed like there's a lot of blue, whole lot of
Yeah.
blue.
Yeah.
Red felt kind of old and
Yeah.
older, not bad, but it just felt
Yeah.
kind of whatever.
Hmm.
And I got to really look in there. We didn't see a lot of green, and we wanted we tried every single color. As Jordan said, it was Jordan, not me, that wanted to go through every color, but we
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
we we've got every single color, but it's funny you asked this. The ultimate decision, we knew we kind of wanted to go green. I'm
Yeah.
driving to Louisville, and I get on the calls all the time, and
Yeah.
I've got my video playing, and it drives everybody crazy. But I'm driving to Louisville one day, and I look at my little light on my dashboard in big
Yeah.
red, we call it, the Honda
Yeah.
Odyssey that I drive everywhere. And that color green, I took a picture of it. And
Oh.
when I got stopped, and I sent it to our design guy, and I said, "Let's get close to that."
Oh,
And
nice. Okay.
that's how the green that we have today ended up. It wasn't an exact variation, but we wanted a really vibrant green, so that's how it came out.
Well, you'll
Gotcha.
appreciate this too, Patrice. I know we're over on time, but if you look at our, hold on, let me get this right here. You see our little logo.
Oh, yeah.
We did spend a
Yeah.
lot of time on that. And the reason we did that, we really haven't talked about this much, is there's Zion, right? And there's Zion National
Hmm.
Park, and there's a trail that Jimmy and Chuck really want to go up. Drew and I not so much. We said we'd be there for support. But what we had said in creating the logo is it was all about moving forward, right?
Hmm.
And connecting the dots and reaching the summit. So
Hmm.
when you look at our logo, you'll see that it's the dots connected. Well, where is it?
Hmm.
And then there's an arrow at the top. So we had come up with
Hmm.
that for a bunch of different iterations. And it was just a cool
Hmm. Yeah.
story of how we came up with the logo and went back
Yeah.
and forth on. But it's just about always moving forward, right? Not
And it's
looking
kind
Yeah.
of
behind.
a
So
Z. It's supposed to be a
Yep.
Z,
Yeah, you can
and
definitely see the Z. Yeah.
yep.
there's four dots,
Hmm.
and
For
yeah,
the four founders.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a
See,
fun process. The guy, we
I
ended
seem to
up doubling the
appreciate
guy's
that. Yeah.
pay because it's kind of like have you ever heard the Nike trademark or the Nike swoosh, how they came up with it? Have you heard that story about, of course, marketing wise, I think there's some heavy hitters in the industry, but Nike's got to be one of the best. Apple's one of the best. But
Starbucks.
He paid somebody at Portland State University, paid a lady like $100 or $200. Well, we did similar, and I ended up paying him more because it was a 2-month process of putting up with me and us, and
yeah.
But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It is a lot of fun coming up with your brand identity. So
yeah. Well, Patrice, we really enjoyed it. We wish you well. We wish you the best. If you're out there listening and you're a material handling company, we'll make sure this gets in LinkedIn. There's some good options out there now, and you're certainly one of them. And we wish you the best. And I'm sure this won't be the last time we interact and see each other. And thank you for giving us some time. And really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Awesome.